Hello, I'm Tony Robinson. Welcome to Wrestling with the Big One. Over the last few weeks, we've been looking at some of the stories that Jesus told in his lifetime. He was talking to people about a brand new kingdom, the kingdom of God. What he meant was a time and a place where people could have a very new and a very intimate relationship with God. And although it was quite easy for Jesus to talk about it in story terms, it was much harder to describe in terms that were practical and concrete.
Concrete?
Yeah.
You want a DIY, love?
What? No, sorry, I wasn't talking to you. Imagine being one of Jesus' followers.
There's no price on this.
Imagine how frustrating it must have felt.
Oh, Miss Carroll, English Harvey seed packs.
168.
His followers had only got the faintest inkling of what Jesus' kingdom was about themselves.
168, please.
What they did know was that it was going to be big. They were sure of that. They could see the fantastic effect that Jesus had on the crowds of people who were following him. The only problem was that nothing was changing. The crowds would listen to Jesus for hour after hour, and then they'd just go home. There was no revolution, no great religious transformation, nothing. In the early days, when Jesus was talking to people on the shores of Lake Galilee, crowds would come in their thousands every day. In fact, there's one story about the crowd being so large that Jesus was forced to go and speak to them in a boat while the crowd just sat on the shore and listened to him. And it was at that moment that Jesus told his followers the parable of the sower.
Oh, you got it then?
Yeah, come on.
Hang about, I've still got a couple of dozen of these to get rid of.
Come on. What's this? Gigantic flood damage sale, bargains, 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 Blake.
You get some really good stuff in this sale.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Excuse me, sir. Sam, I cleared out the back garden.
He's thrown it away.
Oi, little out!
Anyway, we haven't got a back garden.
Oh, the yard then.
Blakey, we are not doing the parable of the sower in our backyard.
You'll make it relevant, man.
Oh, yeah, sure. A sower sowed some seed. Some of it fell on a rusty motorbike, some went behind the wheelie bin, and the rest was eaten by next door's dog.
But we get a nice lawn out of it, Tone.
No.
So where do you want to do it then?
What do you think? Lake Galilee. It's beautiful, isn't it?
I haven't had my injections.
You don't need injections for Lake Galilee. So calm and peaceful and tranquil. But in Jesus' time, it was a real hotbed of revolution. There were whole gangs of guerrillas in the hills over there fighting the Romans. This is North Israel, right? Around here, they were dead contemptuous of all the soft southerners down south in Jerusalem.
It's a bit like how I feel about South Londoners.
They reckoned they sucked up to the Romans just so they could have an easy life and make loads of money.
Yeah, definitely like South Londoners. Oh, excuse me, do you want one of these? No? Please yourself.
So you can see why the people around here flocked to hear Jesus. He was slagging off the rich and the religious fat cats in Jerusalem.
And the South Londoners.
Jesus' disciples must have thought the revolution was about to start there and then. You can imagine how excited they must have got trying to cope with all those massive crowds, trying to get the people at the front to sit down.
Looking after everyone's lost kids.
Coping with the catering.
I thought Jesus did that himself.
Collecting up all the addresses and making great big mailing lists.
Yeah, mate, have a thingy.
But at the end of the day, nothing, just collecting up all the litter and then on to the next town. No insurrection, no great spiritual transformation. What had gone wrong? Well, it was with this in mind that Jesus told the parable of the sower.
Up the rebs.
He was sitting in his boat out on the water and the crowd were listening to him on the banks, and probably half of them were more interested in sorting out their lunch than they were listening to Jesus talking. And you can imagine his disciples saying to him, "Why do you bother to waste your time telling them about the kingdom of God when at the end of the day they don't listen?"
Shall I start the sowing now?
No, that's all right. I've got a bloke standing by.
Why? I'm the top gardener. I've got the best window box in Watford.
Yeah, but look at this bloke. Is he the business or what?
Where'd you find him?
He was in a hardcore house nightclub in Tel Aviv.
I didn't know you liked house.
Well, if it's really hardcore, you know.
Looks more like the bouncer in an Indian restaurant.
No, this is your real, proper, authentic first-century peasant costume, mate.
It still looks a bit of a pillock. Wait, 2 mutton vindaloos and an onion bhaji.
Don't upset him. He's an out-of-work actor. You know what they're like. Say, hello, Coco. That's a nice costume.
Hello, Coco. That's a nice costume.
Good man. Hi, Coco. I've brought you some seeds. Oh, you got some already?
Good man. You brought your own props.
These cost me £1.68.
Oh, never mind. A few more won't do any harm.
I suppose so. Right. Here you go. There you are, Coco. Thank you very much indeed. Now, if you'd just like to go over there and stand by. That's what they say, see? Stand by. Right, so Jesus called all his disciples together and he told them this story.
It's stupid here. It's the wrong time of year.
What do you mean?
Well, look, the ground's not ploughed or anything. There's rocks all over the place. It's not like a proper English field.
No, that's the whole thing. You see, in the old days, they used to chuck the seed all over the place first, and then they'd plough it in afterwards. Look, I'll show you. OK, Coco, and action! Hey, look at that graceful, muscular action. You know what that's down to, don't you? They do 3 years national service in this country.
Well, I did 3 weeks with Adventure Scouts.
You didn't even get your stamp collecting badge. Hey, look at that. Did you see that? If you'd done that in our backyard, you'd have broken a window, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Right. A sower sowed some seed, and some of it fell on the path and was trodden underfoot.
I'll tread it underfoot. I told you you'd need me. Tread.
It was trodden underfoot and it was eaten by the birds. Are you going to do that too?
Yeah, why not? It's not bad, actually. Tastes like them bits you get on top of the burger.
What, gherkins?
No, top of the bun.
Oh, shut up. A sower sowed some seed, and some of it fell on the path and was trodden underfoot and was eaten by birds. And some of it fell on the rocks and it withered and died because its little roots couldn't get at the moisture.
But they didn't half waste a lot, didn't they?
Ah, well, Jesus is saying, see, that sowing seed is like an investment. You have to sow it all over the place because it's not all going to bear fruit.
I wouldn't know, I'm unemployed.
And some of it landed among the weeds, and the weeds grew up and choked it.
Well, and some of it landed on the nice earth, and it sprouted and lived happily ever after.
Ah, yeah, but not only that, but it doubled and it redoubled and it doubled again until the whole field was full. You see, Jesus is saying to his followers that they've got to be patient. They can tell the news about the kingdom of God 100 times and nothing will happen. And then they'll tell it again and something will happen and the results will be mega huge.
Is that it?
Yeah.
It's all right, you can stop sowing. Yeah, have a leaflet. But listen, nobody ever got what Jesus was going on about anyway. So how did they actually understand what he really meant?
Because Jesus called all his followers together afterwards and he explained it to them. He said that the little seeds that landed on the path were like people who hear about the kingdom of God but don't believe it.
Like the religious blokes in Jerusalem.
That's right. And the ones that landed on the rock are like people who get all excited about it and then forget it. And the ones that fell among the weeds are like people who are so into things like pleasure and their own job and having a good time and stuff that they just get distracted and go off and do their own thing.
And the ones that fell on the earth were the sensible ones, like his supporters, who hear about this kingdom and actually do something about it.
That's right, and of course the funny thing is that it's very difficult to work out exactly who those people are going to be. And sometimes they turn out to be the last people in the world that you'd ever think of.
Wait a moment, just a minute! Excuse me, wait! Tell me, this gigantic flood damage sale, it's yours?
Well, it's not mine exactly.
Oh, look, it's fantastic. English linen tea towels, $1.99. Sets of ring spanners, $8.99. Men's toilet gift packs, $4.99. I mean, these are amazing reductions.
Well, they're not bad, I suppose.
Well, look here. Sets of 6 scratch-resistant table mats with matching coasters depicting scenes from novels by your famous English writer, Charles Dickens. All for £5.55. I mean, in my wildest fantasies, I couldn't have dreamt of such fantastic bargains. I must go there straight away. Tell me, where is it?
Well,
where?
It's in Watford, actually.
What? Where about in Watford?
It's a great thing, publicity, isn't it?
Well, where do you know in Watford? Do you know Watford High Street?
I know, John Lewis's.
Ah, right, you go past John Lewis,
Yeah.
you do a left, and it's next to next.
Next to what?
Next.
What's next?
Well, we're going for a curry, aren't we?
Oh, yeah, do you want to come?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, we'll get a discount, will you?
He could be the waiter. I could murder a prawn vindaloo.
Yeah. I was thinking more of an aloo sag.
When did you work, Raj? I mean, obviously not bouncing.
No.